So I have this big piece of leather that I'm going to try turning into a bag. What I've already done is I squared off the edges, and all my scrap is sitting right here from where I cut it off. There's two corners cut at the top, and the reason is because one of the corners was already cut, so I just made it symmetrical. And the idea is after I make the bag, you'll be able to fold down the top. But this is where I'm starting at. So I folded it in half, and I did, what is this, a skeeving knife? And I kind of use this for the same thing, even though it's not what it's for. But I did both this side and the other side of the leather. And I'm going to try doing a French stitch on the bag. But I've marked my line. Just on the inside of this is where I'm going to put my initial stitch before folding and gluing these back. So I have all of the holes punched, and then I'm going to start stitching. Getting ahead of myself, but I've stitched from the top to maybe about 3 inches from the bottom. I've already put the glue on, because what I'm going to do is go ahead and flip this over, and I'm going to tap it down for the French stitch. But I'm going to do the bottom separate so that I can square it off. But I want to try and finish the top part, which is the French stitch, first. So this is what I have so far. Like I said, there's about 3 inches right here. And this is what it'll look like. The reason for the 3 inches is when I push in the sides to square off the base, I'm not exactly sure how much space I'll have or how much room I'll need for my stitching, and I don't want to overstitch and tear them. An idea is it would look something like this. So I ended up using a silver Sharpie to make the straight line. The chalk didn't come out as well as I'd like, and it did wear off pretty good whenever I was trying to make more chalk lines. So I did my straight lines to the best of my ability. They're about a 1/2 inch in on each side. So now I just have to punch the holes in, and I have my cutting board inside so that I can punch all the way through. So far the stitch is actually coming out pretty good. It looks terrible on this side, but on the inside it looks better. It is straight. There is probably 2 stitches about right here. I actually went back to fix one of them, but I couldn't fix the other 2. So they're going to look a little rough right about here on the inside, but the rest of them, I'm actually checking each stitch as I go to make sure that it comes out real even. And then I'll have to do the other side. So I have my stitching done, which I will recommend not doing this scale or in this way. But I started here, and it looks rough on the back. It looks better on the inside. But further down, I kind of got messed up because I stopped and then started again, so kind of lost my rhythm. So on the inside, it looks kind of rough in this area. That's where I ran out of thread. So I actually started on the other one, and I just kind of went all the way through. It looks much cleaner. And I finished out this side, and then I started back and finished out the other side here. And it's at about the same part where I stopped stitching in this area. So the way I'm going to do it, the rest of the bag, or the bottom rather, is I have it set up here, and I marked, and this is going to be my bottom line. I've already got the holes punched, so now I just have to stitch it on the bottom. So I have the bottom here, it's all stitched. So the next thing I got to do is find the corner, and then I'll mark it and stitch it across all the way, and then I'll cut the extra piece off to try and square off the bottom. Since I already have 3 inches here that I didn't stitch, I'm going to go ahead and mark here, and I'm going to go ahead and put my stitches at the 3 inch mark, and then I'll cut the excess off, and I'm going to see how it looks. So I got the top and the bottom stitched. Now I just have to cut the excess off. So I trimmed off the excess, but I left enough there in case I have to restitch something. I'll probably go through and restitch these ends right here just to make sure they're secured properly. But I'm going to go ahead and flip it out inside out. So here's my bag flipped inside out. That is the French seam, French stitch, where I messed up right here on this side, and then this is much cleaner, and then I finished out the stitch on this side. This is how big the bag is. Got the bottom squared off. So the next thing I'm going to do is figure out how to do a fold so that this sits like so. So I had some scrap leather and I got these metal rings. So what I did was I made these little loops like this, and this is what's going to hold the strap for the bag on. I only made 2 because it's going to be an over the shoulder, but I'm going to rivet these in. So I should only need 3 or 4 rivets on each side. I'm going to use them to rivet onto the bag. So to do this, I rolled the bag down so that I can get better access to down here at the bottom. What I'm going to do is I'll put this on the inside, so I place it where I want it. Go ahead and punch out the holes, and then I'll reverse that, and then I'll put the rivets in. So I got the rivets on with the rings, and I put rings on both sides. That way I could clip it on to both sides for the strap, and then that way to disconnect it you could do the bottom or the top. And then I did a simple drawstring at the top.